Hello, everyone, and welcome to this project of mine. This is a podcast. Yes, another podcast to add to your repertoire of podcasts. I am your host. I am known by many a name, by different groups of people. Most of you probably know me by my real name, Roberto. Other of you may know me by my online name, El Gerbil. Now you might be thinking, Roberto, Gerbil, why are you making a podcast? What prompted this change? Well, the answer is quite simple, actually. I just wanted to. Like, honestly, like that, I just had a fascination with it. I've listened to other podcasts before. I've enjoyed the formats, and it's also a great way for me to just talk about things that I want to talk about and have some listenership with it. My plan for this podcast is to have guests and to have them come on and share their stories as I share mine as well. And but for now, there is no guest for this episode. The reason being that this is episode 0. In other words, it's a practice run. Honestly, I'm just getting used to it. I've never recorded a podcast before. I didn't even research how to make a podcast, but hey, here we are, just recording away on my headset. So yeah, this is a pretty amateurish operation I'm running here, but I'm excited for it just to see where it'll go. Uh, Now, I have a vague format of how these podcasts will go. I won't get into it in detail. I'll just jump right into it. But mostly the idea is I have guests bring in something that means uh, something to them, that has significance to them, and I bring something that has significance to me that may or may not remind me of them or make me think of them in some way. And with this idea, I'm trying to implement it into two facets. Uh, One a little more lighthearted than the other. Uh, the first one being just drinks, probably alcoholic, and but someone brings on their drink of choice, tells me why they like it, if there's any significance to it. It might be like, oh, when I turned 21, I went up uh, to a cabin with my family. And that evening, my father broke out this 13-year-old scotch, and we drank scotch together. So now this scotch has a lot of meaning to me. Great, let's drink that Glenfiddich then, and that sounds wonderful. But it also might be as simple as just, hey, I really like Malibu because it's really sweet, and I like coconut. So I like to drink Malibu because it reminds me of times I partied with my friends. Awesome, I'll drink to that. Why not? But that's the first part. The other part I'm thinking of after we had a few drinks, we're loosened up, we're having a good time, is to talk about music. Music has always been so important to me. Uh, just I've had this whole musical journey that started with, sure it started the same with everyone else, but with your parents' music, specifically my dad's music. He played this band that was really interesting. I never heard music like this before because I only heard Disney music, and so when he played it, I just heard those opening words that would change my life. Is this the real life, or is this fantasy? And I thought, wow, what an interesting, profound lyric. And of course, the rest of Bohemian Rhapsody plays, and the rest is history with that, really. I got introduced to Queen with their Greatest Hits album, Volume 1, and it was incredible. As I got older, I listened to more Queen, more dad rock, as some call it, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, the like. Um, but as I got older, I heard my first instance of music that wasn't from my father or from just a movie or Disney. It was an album that my brother had brought home when he was in middle school. That album was Hybrid Theory. And once again, my life would change dramatically after I heard this album. Because not only did it sound so different, but the things they were saying were completely different. Whereas with this music and with most of Queen's music, it was very positive, uplifting, and kind of like self-empowering, which is great. It's a great message to send out to people, and it really resonates well with audiences. But as many of us know and experience, as you're growing up and you start entering puberty around that age, you start feeling these new feelings. No, I'm not talking about uh, your sexuality developing, but rather I'm talking about existential dread, is what I like to call it. You start understanding your place in the universe. You start understanding that not everything is sunshine and smiles, and it kind of bums you out and it kind of freaks you out. And for me, I had no one to talk to about this. I didn't feel comfortable with anyone in my life at the time to talk to about this. I didn't have many friends in school in general. I had maybe one or two, and even then, they weren't the greatest of friends. So I felt alone and often had this darkness just hovering over me that could have easily been swatted away if an adult had taken the time to talk to me and reaffirm that my feelings were normal, but that never happened. So now I have these strangers on this CD saying a lot of these feelings that really, really resonated with me. And it was really cool, for a lack of a better word, just to hear Mike Shinoda and Chester Bennington convey the messages they were conveying on that album. It also blew my mind to hear Mike speak so rhythmically, is what I called it at the time. Just like he's talking so fast, but like on the beat. Like, what do you call that? It's called rapping. It's called rapping. And Mike, he's a great rapper. He's good at painting certain types of imagery, uh, and just conveying the messages that he's trying to convey. And of course, Chester Bennington, uh, rest his soul, an incredible singer, an incredible songwriter. Just his lyrics, man, like I didn't appreciate it as much at the time because I had no way of like referencing like his skill level with the songwriting. But man, reading some of his old lyrics, so good. And even the lyrics on his last album, uh, One Last Light. Was that Last Light? I don't remember. Um, yeah, it was really incredible to hear that, and that album made me feel something I hadn't felt during my time in elementary school and for about half of middle school. It made me feel normal, like the experiences I was experiencing, the feelings that I was feeling, that they were, valid, and like, yeah, you're allowed to feel sad for an extended period of time. You're allowed to wake up not smiling. It doesn't matter if the day is sunny. It doesn't matter if you have a decent day at school. You're allowed to still feel sad. And that's okay. You're going to work through it. You'll survive. It's a journey we all take. It's all okay. And so that was really cool to experience with Linkin Park, and one of the reasons why I latched onto them pretty strongly for a while, which many people did at the time. I'm no stranger to the fact that Hybrid Theory was one of the decade-defining albums. Uh, Everyone heard that album when it came out, and which it's cool to know that like I found a place among the rest of us through that album. So it was really, really nice. And as I mentioned, I stuck with Linkin Park for a while. Then they released, a couple years later, after dropping other projects, they released a mashup album called Collision Course. Many of you have probably heard the single Numb Encore off of it. There was a whole album of songs like that. And they collaborated with none other than Jay-Z, who I didn't know at the time. Didn't know he existed, didn't know anything about him. But when I heard these songs, I noticed like it was cool to hear the songs I already knew in a kind of a different fashion. But this new guy, this Jay-Z fella, he sounds really cool, and the things he talks about were really cool. And it like totally grabbed my attention. The way he was rapping, the things he was talking about, uh, and just how he had such a command with words. It was all incredible to hear. And man, I don't even know how to say this, but it just that sparked my love of hip hop. Like, yeah, I became a Jay-Z fan for quite a long time after that, listening to his albums, the Black Album, Blueprint, one, two, two and a half, three. I may be getting some of these album names wrong. It's been a very long time since I listened to Jay-Z, and there's a reason for that I won't get into right now. But of course, Jay-Z, New York based rapper, singer, songwriter, rapper, head of Rock Nation, Rockefeller. Uh, just this guy is killing it. And of course, husband to Beyonce, which is an incredible feat in itself as well. Blew my mind first time I learned that those two were even together. Anyways, let's get back on track. After that, I kind of kept up with hip hop for a while, and luckily one of my friends was really into hip hop, like the hip hop you hear on the radio. And so, I had someone to talk to about this. He's like, "Oh, you hear this single, the new Lil Wayne single, or you heard the new Fat Joe record, or you heard the new Ludacris album?" It was cool to have someone to talk to about this, and I really enjoyed it. But something else happened that was pretty unusual, but it really cemented my appreciation of music, specifically hip hop, but like music as a whole. I was in class one day and I was humming this new song that I really enjoyed for some reason. The song was Lean With It, Rock With It by Def Franchise Boys. And the hook's literally just like lean with it, rock with it, lean with it, rock with it. And that song really stuck with me. No idea why. And so one day I'm humming that in class, and my friend hears me humming it. A different friend, mind you. Friend I didn't talk to that much, but he was cool. And he's like, "Oh, do you know the rest of the lyrics of that song?" I tell him, "What? No, of course not. It's rap. There's a lot of lyrics. That's a lot to memorize. It's not like most other genres where they use like I don't know 40 unique words. Rap they use like hundreds, and so you have to memorize hundreds of words in a certain order, say them in a correct way and all that." And I was like, "Nah, that's a lot of work." He said, "What? Nah, man, you gotta know." He was like genuinely disappointed that I didn't know, and he continued. Like, if you love that song, you gotta know all the lyrics, bro. You just gotta do it. And I thought to myself, is this really how it works? So I'm like, really? Like, I'm supposed to know all the lyrics since I like this song. He says, absolutely, you gotta know. So I went home with this newfound knowledge that, hey, since I said to him and to myself that I like this song, which I did and still do, I need to learn all the lyrics to this song. So I spent a couple days learning each part, the verses, uh, and the bars that each of the members of this DFP group were spitting, and I had to memorize it and get into it. A couple days later, I were talking to this friend again, and he asked like, "Oh yeah, so did you finish memorizing lyrics?" I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, for sure." And so I start spitting some of the bars like I don't want to say flawlessly, as flawlessly as a middle schooler can, but like I'm getting the words correct, is what I'm trying to say. The words are correct, the way I'm saying it. My delivery, maybe not so great, but the words were correct. And he was impressed, like really, really impressed, and that confused me. And I thought because I thought to myself like, but you told me that if I liked the song that I should know the lyrics. And it turns out he was just saying that. That's not true at all. If you talk to most people, like I have, about music, they don't know the lyrics to any of their favorite songs. I don't say any, but they know the chorus and the hook or whatever. But after that, they go, "Oh, I don't know what the song's really about though, and I don't really listen to the lyrics," which is fine, by the way. I'm not hating. It's just like I felt kind of dumbfounded, like, wait, but you told me I had to learn the lyrics. And now I found out, like, no, that's actually not at all true. I was bamboozled. And so I was like, all right, well, now I have these lyrics in my head that I must store there forever. And yeah, if you ask me today, I know like 70 to 80% of the lyrics still. I might have a hard time starting though. Probably have to hear like the first like three words so I can start. But I'm still pretty much there. Anyways, so I'm moving on from this era of hip hop, which is known as the bling era of hip hop, which is characterized by, superficial lyrics, uh, lacks depth, it lacks nuance. It's just, hey, let's party, hey, let's get money, hey, let's get girls. That's the bling era of hip hop in a nutshell. Nothing wrong with that. It's just fun, but it really didn't have much to offer. Then I kind of stopped listening to the radio for a while. I'm not sure if it was a conscious decision on my part, but I just remember not listening and yeah, just living my life. Many years later in college, I have a friend who's telling me, "Hey, have you heard this new single that just came out? It's really good. In fact, the guy who performs it is going to be performing nearby soon. You should totally check it out." And I was like, "No, I haven't heard the single and I don't know who this person is, but I'll check it out." And I hear the song and I'm like, "Eh, it's okay." Then I hear that the song has a feature. Drake is featured on the track. And all I knew about Drake were the memes of him at the time. And these memes were like how much of a like nice guy he was, I guess. Not like ironically nice guy, but like he was like genuinely just like a sincere soul. I think one of the memes was like Drake's the kind of guy who drives a girl to home to her boyfriend or to her boyfriend after she tries to sleep with him and he finds out she has a boyfriend or whatever. I butchered it, but you get the idea. Like he doesn't take advantage of anything. He's just super nice. Which of course nowadays, 2019, I know Drake is a scumbag. But that we'll talk about that later, another time. Not for now. Anyways, I hear the whole thing, and all I can think is, if this guy's associated with Drake, he's probably a meme as well. And so I didn't want anything to do with it. And man, what a fool I was. The song was Poetic Justice by the artist Kendrick Lamar off the album Good Kid, Mad City, which of course is a phenomenal album. And of course, Kendrick is a phenomenal artist, singer, rapper, songwriter, producer, just incredible human being. And every time I recount the story, I regret how I didn't go to that show because I didn't know who he was at the time. And my appreciation for him would not even begin until like 2 years after that story. Because 2 years after that, I was studying abroad in Australia, and there was this one girl who was really hype and into Kendrick, which I thought like, oh, that's fine. Everyone has their own music taste. I'm glad she's found something she likes. But she kept mentioning that he was going to drop a new album soon and that it was going to be dope. It was going to be the best thing ever. And of course, I understand many fans uh, say that about their favorite artist. They go, the next thing is going to be the best thing ever. They always say that. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice, whatever, sure. But throughout the study abroad trip, the 3 months I was in Australia, she kept bringing it up to different people in different contexts. It would just pop up. And I remember having a brief discussion with her about like why she was so excited. And she's saying like, oh no, because his last album was amazing, and so this album's gonna be amazing too. And I was just like, I don't know if that's how that works, but you seem really excited. So I guess I'll keep an ear out for when it drops. And the thing was, it would drop after the trip was over. So the next quarter, I'm chilling in my apartment on campus now, and I see this news story pop up saying that not only did Kendrick's album drop, it dropped a week early, and there was a shitstorm online apparently. Producers were pissed, and I thought to myself, huh, this album might get taken down soon, so I might as well listen to it as fast as I can. And of course, that that probably was the intended effect. They probably said that just as a lie, just to get people to listen to it. But you know, whatever. I wasn't doing anything that night anyways. But man, let me just say, I I'm glad I did. Going into it, I saw the title of the album, To Pimp a Butterfly, and I thought to myself, that is not a good start. I became less excited to listen to it as soon as I saw that title. But I was like, you know what? It's just the title of the album. Who cares? And I pressed play on that first track on Spotify. And over the next hour and something, or is it just an hour? Can't remember off the top of my head. I listened, well, it's more like I experienced the best album I've probably heard in my entire life. Definitely the best hip hop album ever. Just holy moly, is this album just a masterpiece. Like this album should definitely be saved within like archives, what was it called, like archives, whatever. There's this like federal thing where they save certain albums. Like I have no doubt this one will end up there. That one or Good Kid, Mad City. But yeah, this album was incredible for many reasons that I'll get to in a future podcast episode. But I will say this. This album seemed to have a double meaning throughout the songs. And I know you're saying like that's just simile, that's just metaphors, that's just symbolism. That's easy. And yeah, you're right, that is easy. But I guess a better way to describe it is there were two stories being told at the same time using the same words, but these stories went in different directions. So the first time you listen to it, you get one of the obvious stories. And you're like, okay, cool, yeah. He spit some great bars, the production's fantastic, the jazz that was the presence of jazz in the album was really, really well done. So you get these like you get the obvious things, but this album was more than that. It really rewarded anyone who really took the time to listen to the lyrics, listen to the production, and to do a little bit of research every time something didn't quite make sense to the individual. Because once you really understood everything that was going on, it blows your fucking mind. It was so good. The songs were amazing. The poem, spoken word poem he was saying throughout the album that built up every couple of songs, how it finished, that interview at the end, and that final poem that is said that really ties the whole album together and tells you exactly why the album is named To Pimp a Butterfly. Incredible. It's just an incredible masterpiece. So, needless to say, I'm a huge Kendrick fan. I really do enjoy his work, and I can't wait for him to drop more. But yeah, that pretty much sums up my musical journey. There are a lot of nuances I skipped over, but for now, I'll leave it at that. I listen to uh, some hard rock and quite a bit of metal. Not as much as I like to. I'm gonna definitely try to fix that with this podcast, but definitely listen to a lot of music that has high energy. I'm a high energy kind of guy. When I listen to music, it should be bumping. The only reason certain songs with low energy work for me is because like it's part of a bigger story, and this low is necessary for that story, if that makes sense. If not, I'll describe it in more detail in a future episode. Now, let's get into what the format of the podcast will actually be like in the future. As I mentioned, the first thing we'd probably talk about is kind of like some alcoholic beverage, a drink we'd enjoy. Since I have no guest, I just have myself a drink here, and I am drinking New Amsterdam vodka. Yes, this is a very cheap, easy to buy, not so easy to drink vodka. And I know many of you thinking that's kind of redundant that you said that. Not easy to drink vodka. no vodka is easy to drink. But let me tell you, New Amsterdam has an interesting twist on it. Before I get into it, I do find it comical that these two friends from back home that I know, big burly men who like to shoot guns and smoke cigars and will drink anyone under the table, and they will peer pressure people into trying to do that. Uh, and they will drink a lot. They'll be the kind of guys like, I got this fifth for now. We'll finish in this next hour, then we'll drink the handle. Like, yeah, man, let's do it. Super stereotypical bros. Really nice people, by the way. Really nice people. Uh, it's just when they get into it, they get really into it. So, anyways, they talk about all their drinking adventures and how they got super drunk and how they hugged the toilet for the whole night and they think they may have made out with someone. I don't remember, whatever. But then it mentioned vodka to them and they will cower with the tail between their legs and they will not touch the stuff. They fear it, which I find fascinating because for me, vodka is kind of like my go-to. Out of all the liquors, it's vodka. It used to be rum, but nowadays it's vodka. Like I drink a lot of it, either straight or in a mixed drink. I don't recommend straight, just because I wasn't in a good headspace at the time, and I think that allowed me to drink that vodka straight. But it's definitely possible with certain vodkas. So, anyways, back to New Amsterdam. So, New Amsterdam advertises itself as a pretty smooth vodka. It says it's 5 times distilled, therefore making it a smooth experience to drink straight or to put in a cocktail, which is like great. H- However, it's not exactly accurate. It's vodka, so automatically it'll be difficult to drink straight, as with almost any liquor. But they have a weird twist on it, so they're not completely dishonest when they say it's smooth. I will say the front of it, the front of the palate, when you take a sip, it is pretty smooth. Like it's that first like second, you're like, oh yeah, I could totally drink this straight. It's a good time. It hits the front of your tongue, it makes its way towards the middle of your palate, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, this is totally fine. I can drink this straight. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm assuming you're serving this chilled. But then you hit the back of that palate, and wow, let me tell you, that's nasty. There's no polite way of putting it. Yes, it gives you that bite that liquors tend to give you, and it's present, and I'm like, yeah, I expected it. It's fine. But for some reason, it feels like someone grabbed the dial and turned it up to 11. Not just the bite, so much as the flavor. Just this taste so, I was gonna sound stupid, but you'll know what I mean. Chemically, it's like, tastes like a chemical you shouldn't have in your mouth. And it's, ugh, such a repugnant taste. And it just fills your sinuses with that. But then it goes down and it lingers. It lingers for a couple seconds, and then you can move on to your next sip. So yeah, not the best to sip straight. I've also tried pre-gaming with this once. I was pre-gaming in a place that I'm not supposed to pre-game in, allegedly, just in case Mr. FBI man is listening. But I was pre-gaming aggressively, and I did mix a little bit of juice with it just to drink it faster. But man, I could not finish the drink that I had poured myself. It was like a double, and I was trying to finish it before I went inside to the karaoke night that we were gonna go to. But then took that last sip, and immediately my body was like, no, we don't want this anymore. Even though you've only had less than 2 shots, we're gonna possibly ruin your night before it even begins. And yeah, I almost threw up in the parking lot. It was bad. It was a bad time. I was not having fun for like those 2 minutes. But then I recomposed myself, threw my drink away, and joined back in the fun. When I got met up with my friends again, they're like, are you okay? You good? I was like, yeah, yeah, I got it. I power through it. I'm good. It's fine. So yeah, New Amsterdam, definitely the vodka of choice if you're just like, I just want to get lit. I'm gonna put a bunch of stuff in it. I don't care about quality. I just want to get drunk, and my friend's drunk. Great, New Amsterdam. Pick it up, try it out for yourself. There are definitely better vodkas out there, uh, better in every sense of the word. But you know what? This works. If you want a quick, cheap bottle, go for it. If you don't want to spend money on plastic bottle vodka, aka jet fuel, I would recommend New Amsterdam or Smirnoff. They're pretty much on the same playing field. But yeah, with that, let's move on. So, a cool experience I had recently, in my life over the course of the summer was my birthday. My birthday was in late May, and I really had no plans for my birthday. Not just no plans, but I had planned to do nothing. Just because I'm not at a financially stable point in my life, and but more importantly, I was pretty content with things that were going on in my life in general. I had recently, relatively speaking, uh, gained mental stability after not having it for a long time, and I was pretty happy with that. Like the fact that I could say like, "Oh yeah, I'm happy with how my life is." So I thought to myself, why, push for something more? And of course, another reason is my birthday tends to be on the weekend of Memorial Day, and of course, most of my friends tend to travel that weekend. So even if I had tried to plan something, probably wouldn't have worked out. So I wasn't too bothered. I had planned maybe a hike by myself, but aside from that, I had zero plans. Just want to sleep in, do nothing. Anyways, before that weekend even happens, a friend of mine, Rex, which I am sure you will all get to know more if you don't already know him, hit me up and said, "Hey, I'm going to do some grilling this weekend because it's Memorial Day. You want to come over?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And as we're coordinating details, he tells me, "Hey, isn't your birthday coming up soon? We should celebrate that too." And I tell him, "No thanks. I'm good. I'm not trying to celebrate anything, but I'm down to just hang out and have a good time." And he's like, "Okay, sure." So I come over and yeah, he's grilling some meat. We got ribs and sausages from a German butcher shop in Los Altos. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but a fantastic place. If you Google German butcher shop Los Altos, you'll find it. Anyways, the meat was very good. All of it. The ribs were fantastic. The sausages were good. There was bratwurst, which is a classic. Can't go wrong with a bratwurst. But there was also one called French wine. Now, French wine I had never heard of as a sausage flavor. And so when I asked about it, I was told it's a sausage made with French wine, but also allowed to ferment for some time, which I thought was interesting. So those were grilled up. After I ate all the food I liked, I asked for a French wine sausage. And I got one and I took my first bite and it was incredible. It was really, really savory and full of flavor. And I was impressed because usually when I eat something savory, I associate it with a lot of salt. And I know salt and savory are two very distinct uh, flavor profiles. But to me, whenever I eat something that's savory, there's usually a lot of salt involved. And it doesn't help that I love eating salt. Not straight, but like salty foods. I enjoy salty foods. Don't worry, I may drink a lot of water to make up for it. Sure, it might lead to hypertension sometimes, but hey, I'm still here. But no, I do gotta watch my salt intake though. Sometimes. But anyways, I'm eating it and I take that last bite, just really enjoying this sausage. And then I get hit with this flavor in the back of my mouth. And I just go, oh yeah, it reminded me that like this is a fermented food. So when I swallowed that last bite, I could feel lingering in my mouth this slightly off flavor, which normally would, alarm people, but it was actually part of the experience with the sausage. No, I didn't get sick. No one got sick. It was a fantastic sausage, and I want to eat it again. But yeah, highly recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. Anyways, we head inside after and start doing a little YouTube party. We're just queuing up YouTube videos that we like, mostly just funny ones. It's a tradition that Rex and I have, and we had other people there as well, queuing up their own videos. Queuing up their own videos, sorry. And we're just enjoying ourselves, having a great time. And then, out of nowhere, I'm just sitting on the couch watching this video. Uh, Rex comes out of the kitchen with this whole cake in his hands, really nice looking cake, singing happy birthday to me, which caught me off guard so much, and it flattered me so much. I was taken aback. And he even brought out a candle. Now, this is not a candle that he bought in a 10 pack from the dollar store. No, 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 no. This was a candle he improvised. Yes, improvised. How does one improvise a candle, you might ask? Well, Rex got a piece of printer paper, yeah, regular printer paper, rolled it up, stuck one end into the cake, and lit the other end on fire. Of course, since it's printer paper and not a candle, he had some trouble with this, and it was very comical. And I kept telling him the whole time, "You don't have to do this. I don't need a candle. It's fine. I almost never make wishes on my birthday, so don't even worry about it. Don't do it." He's like, "No, no, no, I insist, I'll get it right. Just think of a wish. Just think of a wish." And I'm like, trying to tell him, like, don't. As I'm trying to convince him not to do it, it finally catches. And of course, since it's printer paper and not a real candle, it burns rapidly, very brightly, and just throwing ashes everywhere and just covering the cake with ashes. And other people are noticing too, and they're like, "Oh no, the ashes." And as I'm thinking to myself, this is why I didn't want it. Rex is yelling at me like, "Just blow the candle, make your wish, just make your wish and blow the candle." I was like, "Ah, fine." So I blew out the candle, and everyone clapped. We removed the burnt piece of paper from my cake, tried to blow off the ashes, and we served the slices. And let me tell you, that was some bomb ass cake. It was a chocolate ganache. I've never had a chocolate ganache before. I never knew what ganache was before. Actually, I still don't know what ganache is. But when I took my first bite, it reminded me a lot of chocolate mousse, but really, really thick chocolate mousse. Very rich, very thick. It's just so good. Such a delicious cake. But yeah, that was that, and I was really happy with that whole day. It was so cool that Rex had done that for me. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Rex. If you're listening, my friend, I know I said this to you in person already, but honestly, thank you so much. That was really cool. I actually have never had anyone do that for me before to, you know, throw a surprise birthday party. I've had birthday parties, but they were always planned meticulously by me. I would coordinate it, invite the people, uh, get stuff or ask people to bring the stuff, and then we have a party. But this one, the first time, was just like I planned nothing, and it happened, and that was really cool. It made me feel really loved, which is something I want to feel more of, because I often feel like I don't feel a lot of it. So, Rex, again, thank you so much for that. It was such a cool time. But yeah, I know I already talked about music already, but I do want to get to this last part where I talk a little more about a specific topic of music rather than the whole musical journey as a whole. Recently, I started listening to this Chicago-based rapper. He's a rapper, songwriter, singer, producer. He is an incredible artist with several mixtapes out who recently dropped a debut album, his debut album, which is the reason why I started really getting into him. This is Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper, amazing son of Chicago. Uh, just one of the greats, working up there with the other greats of Chicago like Kanye West. And Kanye West is actually the reason why I even heard of Chance the Rapper in the first place. I had heard his name from time to time, but never really listened to his music. Didn't know his voice. But then I heard his verse on Ultralight Beam, which is the first track of Kanye West's album, uh, The Life of Pablo. I believe it's a 2012 album? No, not 2012. 20. You know what? I'm not gonna even guess anymore. Uh, 2015, more like 2015, around there. But yeah, it was a great song, and Chance, he killed it on his verse. He was the only real rapping presence in that song because Kanye took a more singing approach to it. The other featured singers were also just singing, whereas Chance, he spit a verse, and it was really, really well done. Now, I listened to Coloring Book in its entirety, which is the name of one of his mixtapes, and I heard about half, well, a little more than half, of Acid Rap, another one of his mixtapes. And I really liked Coloring Book. Well, I liked several tracks of a Coloring Book, I should say. My favorite of which is All We Got, and the song features Kanye West, but it's not the reason I like the song. I'm sure Kanye's production has something to do with it, but his presence, him saying the hook, uh, doesn't really change so much about the song, but just the overall message as a whole is really, really good. Chance is talking about uplifting and loving those around him, uh, making sure that there is love being spread around, whereas Kanye is focusing more on how do we deliver this love, this positivity? It's through music. And the hook goes, music is all that we got, so we might as well give it all that we got. And so kind of saying, like, of course, for them as artists, they're musical artists, so music is really all they got, for many musical artists at least. Kanye does serve as an exception, just because he has so many other things going on for him. But for people like Chance or other rappers, uh, you know, music is how they survive. It's how they make their living. But as a listener, that had a different meaning to me. When I hear music is all that we got, it kind of reminds me of times in my life where I'm really down. Things are not going well for me. Um, I'm struggling to find happiness or meaning in my life. But then I start playing some music and it brings me back. It makes me feel good about where I am. It makes me feel alive again. And this whole image gets painted in my head. It's like, yeah, music sometimes is all that I got. And I'm sure it's that way with a lot of people too. So I really like that song for that reason. There is, of course, the single on the mixtape, No Problem, which features 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne, who do their thing on this track. Great song. Definitely recommend checking it out. As I mentioned, I haven't really heard much of his discography aside from Coloring Book, uh, because when the debut album came out, before I had a chance to listen to it, I saw some reviews on it and they were less than flattering, to say the least. That is a very polite way of saying it, which I find really unfortunate. And it kind of makes me not want to listen to it. I already have trouble listening to new artists because to me it feels like a commitment. Because sure, I could just listen to songs, but to me, like you have to listen to an artist an album at a time because what if there is an overall message throughout the whole album? What if there's a whole overarching story? So yeah, I have to automatically put aside 45 to 60 minutes to even listen to a new artist. Then after that, I have to think about what is the context of all of these songs? What year was it made? What was going on that year? What was this artist involved in? Who are they working with? Who are they not working with? What's different about this album versus previous albums? Are they influenced by their peers? Did they adopt a new sound or did they create a new sound? and that's hours of research, listening to other songs and other singles and other artists just to get a whole picture of this one artist. And it becomes a lot of work. Becomes a lot of work. And so when I hear these less than favorable reviews of his debut album, The Big Day, it makes me less than excited to get into it. But yeah, I'm sure I will eventually hit it up because there are at least a couple tracks people say are really worth listening to. So I will definitely have to check them out. And by the next episode of this podcast, I'll probably have more to say on that. And I think that's all the time that we have for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said before, this is brand new to me. I don't know what I'm doing. This is literally me casting this into the void and seeing what happens. You know, I've only recently entered a stage in my life where I felt comfortable expressing myself through different mediums, whether they're more artistic or hanging stuff on the walls, uh, which I know sounds really oddly specific, but I used to not have anything on my walls in all of my dorm rooms. It never really appealed to me before. But now that I'm in a better headspace, I feel a lot more comfortable and a lot happier having things on my walls. Some of which I have direct influence over, or I can customize in great detail, which I'll talk about more in another episode. But yeah, there's just me just trying to express myself and trying to do it after decades of telling myself not to do it and being convinced that there was no point in doing it. So I'm getting my feet wet. I'm putting myself out there. I apologize if this episode was a little rough, if my voice cracked a couple times. It's simply because I'm scared, or nervous, I should say, uh, but also super excited. So I hope to hear you on the next episode. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, I have a guest lined up. And that episode should go a lot more smoothly since I'll actually be talking to someone rather than just staring at a screen in front of me. All right. Well, thanks again, and I'll talk to you again soon. Okay? Remember, love each other and love yourself. Bye bye.